What used to be hidden or secret is now arrogantly brandished in public by Satanists who recruit openly and display macabre graffiti and gruesome mutilations in public places. Englishman Aleister Crowley, a leading inspiration in today's revival of Satanism, was a bisexual heroin addict and demonologist who was violently opposed to Christianity. In his book Magic, he detailed the proper procedure for performing a child sacrifice. Crowley's powerful influence is seen in such groups as the OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis, and Colonel Michael Aquino's Temple of Set, an offshoot from the Church of Satan. In 1966, Anton LaVey founded the first Church of Satan in San Francisco, which at one point claimed 10,000 members. LaVey authored the Satanic Bible and Satanic Rituals, two of Satanism's most important books. Astonishingly, when the Satanic Bible was first published, it outsold the Holy Bible 2-to-1 in many parts of America and 10-to-1 on some college campuses. It teaches tenets that are totally opposed to goodness, purity, and selfless behavior.
Shemham Farash! Shemham Farash! Hail Satan! Hail Satan!
To the Satanist, good is evil and evil is good. The truth is a lie and a lie is a truth. Sweet is bitter and bitter is sweet. And everything is twisted around the other way.
The Satanists have merely followed the pantheist way of thought to its logical conclusion. If there are no absolutes, if God doesn't exist, he hasn't set absolute limits to what we can do. So therefore, anything that the self decides it wants, the self can go after.
We believe in greed, we believe in selfishness, we believe in all of the lustful thoughts that motivate man, because this is man's natural feeling.
And therefore, Satanists take that to its extreme and say, if I want to be violent, I can be violent. If I want to hurt others to gain my way, then I can hurt others to gain my way.
There are generally four different groups of Satanists. We would like to classify them as the dabbler. Then you have your religious Satanist. Then you have your non-traditional Satanist. And then your generational Satanist. The dabbler we would classify as the teenager. The teenager would simply learn some things from his friends at school, dabble a little bit into the Ouija board, go down the library or the local bookstore and pick up a book, and kind of do his own thing. Not real dangerous, but he can be moved into further areas which could be criminal or dangerous in nature.
The dabblers are the people who are putting the graffiti up on walls, knocking over tombstones, and making a general nuisance of themselves in the public. They are the ones also who will do the animal sacrifices, and they're really novices. They're considered lower-level Satanists by those who are higher up into the satanic realm. The religious Satanists are protected by law. Anton LaVey's First Church of Satan in San Francisco would be an example of that. They are religious in their approach, and they try not to violate any man-made laws because it is not productive for their own self-interest.
Now, the non-traditional Satanist is a gentleman or lady or the group of people who would take certain ideologies, develop a cult, usually polarized around some central theme, oftentimes taken from a biblical aspect, and use that to commit crimes, or they may not commit any crimes, but for what we're talking about for these purposes, the non-traditional Satanist is oftentimes the most dangerous.
Now then there are generational Satanists. These are people who would have Satanism in their family, and it's passed down from generation to generation, just as the name would intimate, and these Satanists would produce all kinds of horrors secretly.
From infancy, they have learned all these things. They have been molested, forced to drink blood, eat feces, urinated upon, sodomized, and just from generation to generation, it continues.
Their main teaching is that Satan had a part in creating the world with God, and he was wrongfully thrown out of heaven when he asked for equal power along with Jehovah God, and that one day he would regain his rightful place. So we have to make his army bigger, so the more recruits there are in Satanism and the occult on the earth, the quicker his army would grow, and then he would take over and overthrow Christ and the Christian church.
Worshipping of Satan is not a crime in the United States of America. It's protected under the First Amendment. Therefore, if you see a group of people dancing around a fire, they're not committing any crime. There's nothing that the United States law enforcement can do.
It's not against the law to be a Satanist or to be a member of a witchcraft group, you know, or to be a doorknob worshiper. I don't really care what your form of religion is. I don't investigate the religion. It's the crime I investigate.
There are no statistics to prove anywhere in the United States of America or the world that this stuff is widespread. But it's my opinion that it's more widespread than you can shake a stick at.
In Britain, we are beginning to see that Satanism is widespread. From the contacts we have through social services, voluntary agencies and the police, we are beginning to monitor the situation, therefore developing a picture which is showing that we have a very serious problem.
Priests, ministers, doctors, police officers, judges, businessmen, oilmen, teenagers are all linked together for one purpose: to sacrifice whatever they want to Satan.
Yeah, it would be a whole lot easier if these people wore, you know, had horns and a pitchfork and a red suit, but they just don't. They could be your next door neighbor.
They want the quick, slick answers to life by calling down these forces so they will be able to manipulate whatever they need.
If you're not popular, you are told that certain rituals, compassion rituals, will gain you popularity or gain you prestige with the opposite sex. And this is something that is also a lure to the Satanists. It's the basic elemental carnal lusts of the flesh that draw them in.
They taught me how to kill someone, a spell, how to kill someone, a spell, how to get someone to lust for me.
From our experience, a child has turned to Satanism initially because of an emotional reason. We have many more children coming from single-parent families, or where the head of the home, the father, is not taking the fatherly role.
With teenagers especially, the appeal is to rebellion. The appeal is to do whatever you can do to drive your parents crazy.
They want to supernaturally get back at their parents. And we have found a lot of teenagers wanting to do it that way. The other reason, I believe, is because the church has not met the needs of these teenagers. They have not seen the supernatural power of God in the church. They've not really seen the love of Christ amongst the people.
Today, Satanism can be seen to be more blatant than ever before. Satanic graffiti is no longer shocking, while recruiting, which was once hidden and obscure, is now visibly public, and sadly, youth are the chief targets.
Recruiters will go out there into various high schools and draw kids into the system because they're very street smart, some of these Satanists, and they can draw these kids into it very seductively where their parents may not even know it.
I have young people calling me regularly, telling me that they have been involved in some sort of animal mutilation sacrifice. And the reason why they say that they go out to these animal mutilation sacrifices is because they're provided with vodka or drugs, cocaine, or free sex.
And so to cover up what I'd seen and what I'd been taking part in, I started taking drugs, which they provided. So that was another reason for staying at the coven. They were providing me heroin.
The old proverb warning against wine, women and song has taken on new spiritual momentum. Sex, drugs and rock and roll is the modern cry of a rebellious youth. Satanist Aleister Crowley has indirectly influenced many leading rock groups, including the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin and Ozzy Osbourne, who even wrote a song about Crowley. Today's music industry commercializes satanic themes without concern for the souls they seduce. Even those bands who promote hardcore Satanism deny that they are Satanists but admit that Satanism sells and that they are simply giving their fans what they want to hear. Many bands get their ideas from horror films and videos which explicitly depict satanic rituals, death, murder, and cruel tortures. Evidence shows music laced with satanic overtones has played an important role in the lives of many of the teenagers who have been convicted of satanic killings. Night Stalker Richard Ramirez, obsessed with the music of the rock group AC/DC, admitted that their lyrics influenced his mayhem killings.
I see a lot of them that are getting involved in it, and it started out with the music, you know, not all rock music, mostly the things like the black metal or speed metal type things, where they have the heavy satanic type overtones to the music.
Your groups such as Venom, Slayer, Merciful Fate, these are bands that will blatantly teach these kids various occultic practices.
Drawings by children reveal how they were forced to participate in atrocious satanic rituals involving animal and human sacrifice, sometimes even compelled to eat raw meat and drink blood. Heartbreaking accounts detail how children were deliberately trapped in cages or graves for hours at a time, sometimes even with snakes, how they were defecated and urinated on, sodomized and raped by adults in satanic ceremonies. Sometimes adults would wear robes similar to Christian clergy and perform rituals in Christian churches, not only to mock God, but to terrorize the children against a belief in biblical Christianity.
Is the court system able to handle this type of philosophy? Do they believe in Satanism? I mean, a lot of people just laugh at it.
Satanists believe that sexual perversions combined with the spilling of innocent blood conjures up the strongest powers. Reports show animals including dogs, cats, goats, and horses being savagely skinned alive, having their blood drained, organs removed, or being split open and nailed to upside-down crosses.
It's believed that if you just kill an animal, that's not much good. You've got to kill it slowly because, and this would be true of a person too, of course, that the screams and that the agony of the animal would contribute to the high level of power.
Animal sacrifices is commonplace today. And in the order that I was involved in years ago, there was even human sacrifice.
These various satanic covens that meet need to have this kind of sacrifice for their high festival days. And it's sort of I hate to say it like this, but it's like supply and demand. The more satanic covens there are, the more children and babies and teenagers are going to be brought out and sacrificed. And again, it is the destruction of innocence that they seek.
From one of the nicer, quieter, more beautiful parts of England, namely the county of Surrey, where people would find it hard to believe that these things go on, there is a confession from a woman who said that her baby, when born, was used as a human sacrifice in satanic rituals. She said it herself. She has said it in public. What does one make of that other than a heartbreaking confession to something that's been a guilty secret for a long time?
You did things just because they were evil, just because you knew they hurt God, not because they gave you pleasure, but because you knew that it was a sin against God.
I had a 17-year-old boy call me and tell me that a year prior to his call, he was considering joining a satanic group. And he said the only thing that stopped him from joining was that he had to violate every one of the 10 Commandments. He said he was willing to do that, except they were pushing for him to kill one of his parents. And that snapped him to reality.
The secularization of our society, the media, schools, churches, and government institutions has created a vacuum whereby Satanism has been able to move in and capture the hearts and souls of a vulnerable generation. At no time in modern history has occultism in its various forms been so widely practiced as it is today. Here are some things that concerned parents can look out for.
You can see warning signs sometimes in a perfectly happy, healthy child who suddenly changes so dramatically in his behavior. Or a child who begins to show signs or suspicions of drug abuse.
You will see the same withdrawal symptoms as you would with drug abuse. where there is a change in personality, aggression, a rebelliousness towards the parents, difficulty in sleeping, temper tantrums, and wanting to stay in their room so that they can play with the altar or call upon the gods.
Pay attention to what, his notebooks, things like that. What's he really scratching or drawing on his notebooks, What's he doing at home, Is he withdrawn into himself? Is he avoiding the rest of the family?
The greatest protection a parent can do is to keep an open line of communication with the young people. That's the central theme that comes up over and over with kids. Well, I can't talk to my mom. I can't talk to my father.
Let them know right from the start it's okay to talk to you, You're not going to condone them doing things wrong, but you're not going to stop loving them either.
It's no good shouting and getting mad with the kid. It is time to put your family in order.
If we don't handle this now properly in our church by teaching our Christian children where their protection lies, where their faith is, who is Satan, and where he is in position to the Christian gospel, then we are going to be rendering the next generation useless in defeating this problem, which is just escalating.
So again, these things are actually occurring. Most people will pretend like they're not. If you go and talk about this at church, they'll look at you like you have 10 heads, yet they'll read Bible verses about the devil, about Satan himself, about rituals that prophets had seen going on underneath the temples, but they still won't believe that it's happening in their town because they don't want to believe it, because it's a scary truth. But if you realize why, with the technology we have in today's world, how people could even go missing, let alone never, ever be found, or no investigation ever actually occur, you realize, wow, these people have been doing this for a long period of time. They're all involved in politics. They're all people who pretend that they're not Satanists and pretend out in the open like they're actually Christian, kind of like most of these Republican congressmen that you see pretend to be Christian. All it takes for people out there to believe him is for them to say it, right? Donald Trump just says it. Oh, he's a Christian. Oh, yeah, he really is a Christian, right? Oh, Elon Musk is now apparently a Christian while he's trying to get a Neuralink inside of your head. The Satanists always play to the vulnerability of Christians by just saying that they're one of them and making them feel, wow, one of these famous people is one of us, because they still are of this world. And we are told in the Bible not to be of this world, that we aren't of this world. But again, most people still, while they pretend like they're not, love the fact that some of these famous people pretend to be Christians. You see what happens whenever one of these celebrities comes out, even if it's a B-level celebrity, right? Even if it's a guy like Dean Cain, right? Or one of these like C-level actors come out, everybody just is so excited, right? Jim Caviezel, you can see all the signs and symbols around him, right? Mel Gibson now. Oh, yeah, because he did Passion of the Christ. We won't pay attention to any of the stuff with Mel Gibson doing the all-seeing eye symbolism, all the satanic stuff that he does out in the, we won't pay attention to it. You're the conspiracy nut. You're the guy making it up. You don't sound Christian because you're accusing people who reveal themselves out in the open. So this is a very significant period in the occult. I wanted to make everybody out there aware of it, that it is, again, 13 days, and I'll be covering the Beltane when it occurs, as I usually do every single year, because that is the day that the veil is the second thinnest in the calendar year, and it is a day for massive amounts of satanic rituals as well as spiritual warfare. And remember, too, when I talk about these days, people out there go, oh, you're insane, right? You're crazy. But then you'll still see signs around your town of a dog going missing during these types of periods. Now, Halloween, if you know the satanic calendar and you see the signs, you go, oh boy, what do you think? Somebody just drove by someone's house and saw a dog in the backyard and said, you know what? I can't live without that dog. That is one sexy dog. And they go and abduct somebody else's dog, right? Has that ever happened? Let's be real. Does anyone ever think of it that way? How and why would a dog go missing? Did the dog run away? No, somebody abducted my dog. Oh, was it the most beautiful dog that's ever existed? They had to have your dog. They couldn't go to Petco and get a dog or somewhere else and get a dog. They had to have your dog, right? That's because these dogs, these cats, are also used in these rituals around this time period. And that's why you always see signs around towns of animals going missing. And nobody ever thinks anything of it. Same with the 80s and the 90s with the milk cartons. Where are the kids going? Well, where do you think they're going? They want you to think that it's just some guy in a tank top who looks unkept, who stands out in a crowd as being like what we would look at as trash or a scumbag. They want you to think that that's what happens to all of these kids. While that does occur, as we know, because there's sick people out there, the reality of the matter is so many kids go missing and the cases never get solved because the people who are supposed to be covering these things are in on it. The news will never talk about it because they're all government assets, government agents who are involved in the same things that I'm talking about here. They won't want you to think it's going on because they don't want you to wake up to what's actually happening and then realize that all the people in control, all the people in power are involved in the same disturbing acts, as Ephesians tells us in Ephesians chapter 5, verses 11 through 12, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. For it is a shame even to speak of these things which are done of them in secret. I thank everybody for being here. I hope you're all doing well. God bless you and your families as always.